Okay, so I'm going to quickly run through the steps that I took to create these images in the background here, just so we can get a hang of how these work. So the first thing that you want to do with whatever image editor that you're using, whether it's Photoshop, Pixelmator like I'm using on Mac, and I would recommend you download that if you don't have it, or something free like GIMP, that's entirely fine, and that obviously works cross platform. So I'm going to create an image with a 300 width and a 200 height. So now we get this just up here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick some colors. So I'm going to head over to Adobe Kuler. I'm actually going to duplicate this because this is the palette I've chosen for the actual website itself. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find a palette that has some nice cool flat style web development colors. So really we can pick anything. Let's just have a look down here. Let's find something that looks quite colorful. Could be anything really. I mean, this is quite nice. These are quite nice colors here. Muted watermelon bowl. So let's take this blue color. To grab this, you can either hover over it and you can see that little yellow title that's just popped up there. But what I tend to do on Adobe Kuler, I don't know if there's an easier way to do this. I'm sure there is, but I just inspect it and I just copy and paste the color here. You can see it's just got an inline style. So over onto Pixelmator, what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to fill in the background layer. So I'm just going to grab my fill, or I think you could probably do it like this as well, actually. You could probably do that. So I'm going to say fill with color. And in here, I'm going to paste in that color that I had earlier. There we go. And that's nicely done. So we filled in the background color, and we also have this shapes option here, which I can pull down from here. This is obviously going to be different for you. And then what I can basically do is I can take a shape, a nice little water droplet might be nice, and I can go ahead and give that a color. So it's just normal hex colors. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to place a guide here, and I'm going to do that at 50%, and then I'm going to place another guide, and I'm going to do that at 50% vertical, and then that means I can nicely center that little water droplet in there. Cool, so this is pretty much what we need to do. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to export this, and I'm going to export it as a PNG. And it says here, create a image that can be viewed and edited with an image editing application or viewed in a web browser. When you hit next, that gives you the option to save that out. There are software like Photoshop allows you to specifically save for the web, so you can choose the options. I don't know if you can do that with Pixelmator because I've not been using it that long. But you can see here that we've just easily created this little, this nice little droplet type thing here. And once you've saved that, you're going to want to put it in, and I've put all my images in. So we're working with a root directory here. We've got our CSS folder, we've got our favicon, which we're going to look at in just a moment. And we've got our image directory here. So inside of my image directory, I've got my picture of myself. So that can just be anything. I think this is a PNG. If we just hit get info, we'll get the information about that. Let's have a look. Yeah, portable network graphic image. It's a PNG. And then I've got a subfolder inside of image, which is perfectly acceptable. We're going to store all of these. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this can be absolutely anything. So if you do have any photography of your own, make sure you save it to the smallest size possible. So at the moment, these are 300 by 200, as I mentioned earlier. So these are 300 by 200 because we don't want the images. One thing with web development, you don't want images in here that are like 1,000, odd pixels or even larger. Because what's going to happen is when this loads in, then you're going to actually, regardless of the size of these images, you're going to load in that entire image. And it's likely that if you take a photograph and save it out, it's going to be probably a megabyte or above, and that's really not good. So these are quite small images. They're not loading in too much in terms of the size. If we again hit our network tab, it will tell us how much data has been transferred. So we've got 1.7 KB transferred over here. So that's pretty much it. Oh no, that I don't think that's because these are. I think these will have been cached. Yeah. So that's how we create our little portfolio images. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that now. We're now going to talk a little bit about a favicon. Now, a favicon can be an ICO, like I said, an ICO file, or it can be a PNG. and I prefer to use a PNG just because it's easier to modify. You don't have to convert it. But if you do want to use an ICO to support older browsers like Internet Explorer, you're going to want to go just onto Google and search for an ICO converter. What that will let you do is take an image, and that will let you convert that to an ICO file that you can then use, and we'll implement that a bit later when we write the markup. So to do this, what I'm actually going to do is I'll just delete this. I'm going to create a new document here, and I'm going to do this by, now what you can do is, it depends on, I mean, we're not going to be supporting things like Apple Touch icons in this series, but you may want to go ahead and look up Apple Touch icons. Basically what they are icons that when you save a website link onto your home screen on your Apple device, whether it be your iPad or your iPhone, you'll see a specific icon that will be shown there, and you can actually generate them. We're not going to go into that, but it's very simple to do. Just go ahead and look it up. But for the favicon, that's really important, because when people save it in their favorites or they have it wherever, then they're going to see this. So you can save this really as any size, but I think the typical sizes are like 64 by 64 or 32 by 32. Again, you want this as small as possible, that it's going to look nice here. And in my case, I think 32 by 32 is going to be absolutely plenty. So to create this, I've done this. I'm going to zoom in just a tad, and then I'm going to change the background color. So I'm going to choose, say, a color from our color palette that we're going to be using. Let's just inspect this, and let's grab that color there. Head over to Pixelmator, and I'm going to double click on the background layer, or on here, and then I'm going to set this to a solid background, and that color I've chosen. There we go. Okay, so then we're going to grab an icon. So we'll grab the icon set here, and I'm just going to click in there and add that shape. And obviously at the moment that is going to be the same color as what I've already given that. So if I just double click on this, I can change the color. So I'm going to change that to white. Great. So now I can just pull this down here and just plonk it in the middle. Very, very rough, but you get the idea. So we've now got this this image. We can go ahead and do exactly the same thing. We export it as a PNG file. Hit next, save that out. It tells you the size as well. And there we go. We've got our favicon. And like I said, I have that saved in the following location, inside the root directory of my website. I'm not going to put it in an image directory. I'm going to put it in the root directory of my website, because that's generally where web crawlers or anything like that will expect to find a favicon. Obviously, they'll crawl the markup and find the favicon, but we'll be establishing the link between the document and your favicon a bit later when we write the markup. So we'll be doing that. So there we go. We focused on the images and how we've saved them out, and a few little important bits about saving out for the web. And now we're going to be heading over and building the HTML and the CSS for this portfolio website.